We always are looking for financial solutions. So today we kind of want to dive into this concept of making money work for you and not necessarily the other way around. How many of us trade time for money every single day, every single week? So we want to boost kind of that financial IQ, if you will, so that you can take a little bit more control of your money. You might have heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. By the way, if you haven't read that book, you really need to. But he has a quote. He says, "It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep and how hard that money works for you and how many generations you keep it." There's this saying, it's kind of funny and I'll probably mess it up, but it's something like, 2 generations ago, the great grandfather rode a horse, and then the grandfather, he had a car, and the father, he had a really nice car, but then the son, he rode a horse again. And basically what that's implying is that money doesn't stay with generation after generation. Many times by that second or third generation, the money's already squandered. Let me talk to you about this real situation with a fictitious name. We're just going to call her Emily. She was a regular 9-to-5er. She decided to kind of break free from the grind, and she started a small little side hustle business. And what she did was she made custom pet accessories. And by the way, pet business is huge. Fast forward a year, and her hobby kind of turned into a money-making machine. So Emily's business now employs her. And now it's working for her 24/7 because obviously it can be online and can work nationwide. And she's well on her way to some financial freedom. But let's kind of break this down. Financial intelligence is not about memorizing these complex calculations and equations. It's really just about understanding how money works, making it kind of your partner, your ally, if you will, and then looking for or even creating opportunities. So think about your money as a way for it to eventually become employed by you and what I call leverage life. Now, leverage life has two meanings. One, we obviously use life insurance, but then we leverage that into other assets. So we're leveraging ourselves, we're working, leveraging our policies, it's working, and leveraging other assets. Another quote that's out there that you might have heard from Tony Robbins, he says, "Remember, it's not all about the resources you lack, but the resourcefulness you possess." Time to get resourceful with your money. So let me share a kind of a case with you. And again, a little bit fictitious names. I'm going to use Tom and Jerry, not really the cartoon characters, but these are basically two individuals, and they both have similar goals for financial freedom. And they both start out working really hard. They're dedicated to building their wealth. Tom decides to work hard at his career. He's at a large company, has all the company benefits. He has a healthcare plan, a 401k, and going about it the way that most people go about it and what most financial advisors would tell him to do as well. He's saving his money diligently, mostly buying mutual funds inside of his retirement account. He's riding the markets up and down over the years. Now, Jerry takes a little different approach. He sees successful businessmen and businesswomen who invest in their businesses. They also invest in assets, maybe real estate or in any alternative investments. So what he does is he works hard, obviously, he saves, but now he looks for investments that have cash flow opportunities and even those that have tax advantages. Because as we've talked about many times, taxes are the single largest bill any of us will pay. And one of the easiest ways to build your wealth and return money to your pocket and to grow your wealth, so to speak, is to reduce or eliminate your taxes. Now, it's a little bit more work up front than simply picking a mutual fund. But if we fast forward over the years, Jerry's money's really started to generate some cash flow and some income. It's going to afford him the financial freedom that both Tom and Jerry are looking for. He isn't going to be beholden to a job, working 9 to 5, crossing his fingers that the stock market's going to act perfectly during his retirement. You think about this, the stock market has a way of proving the most number of people wrong. And sadly, if you happen to retire in a year where the market drops 20 or 30 or 40%, that can really put a damper on your retirement. So Jerry has more of the freedom. He can really be anywhere he wants to be, where Tom is still counting his hours at the office. So the difference is Jerry made his money work for him. Tom traded his time for money. So what's the moral of the story? Again, it's not about working harder, although that can help, obviously, but it's about working smarter. And more importantly, it's about letting your money work smarter. Look for practical ways for your money to become your greatest ally, to become your partner, to become that leverage that you want. So take a deep dive into your finances. Look at where your money is going, look at where your money is coming from, and then look for ways for your money to help you create more money. Now, let me give you one last example. We'll use Sarah, another fictitious name, but a real person. She's a marketing pro. She's living paycheck to paycheck. But one day she decides to confront her financial reality. So she starts tracking her expenses. She looks for unnecessary ways where she's spending her money, and she starts to redirect that towards some investments. The first thing she does is start saving and putting her money into a safe, secure location so that she has the capital when the opportunity comes along. So she's looking for ways for her money to work for her and give her a little more financial independence. You might have heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, or diversification, as most financial advisors might call it. And this really applies, but a little bit differently than your traditional financial advisor. So a traditional financial advisor says diversification is to get 4 or 5 or 6 different mutual funds and maybe a bond fund. But when you are thinking about diversification when it comes to building your wealth, you want to create multiple income streams and diversify your portfolio that way. Make it more resilient. Have places where income is coming in every single month, whether you're working or not. There's a lot of small business owners. And one of the things that you want to do is just not settle on one source of income. Because if you're relying specifically just on you, well, there's a lot of things that can happen. So get diversified. One example I'll give you, and again, fictitious name, we'll use the name John. He starts a small e-commerce store online, and he's also invested in some stocks. He's even done a little bit of real estate. But what's happened is he's tried so many different things. He's found the things that he's comfortable with and the income streams that are making his money. And over time, he's got 2 or 3, 4 different places where that money's coming in. So imagine your money kind of like seeds. So plant them in fertile soil, nurture them, then watch them grow. Find those plants, if you will, that produce the most cash flow and start getting more and more and more of those seeds. Have you ever wondered how the wealthy got that way and then how they stay wealthy? Well, so many of them use leverage. You might have heard the term OPM, other people's money. It's not about using people, but it's about using financial tools that are smart and can be predictable. There's ways to invest in real estate if you have limited capital. So what you want to do is educate yourself. Take a small amount of money, maybe get involved with a partnership with someone else, and get involved in those things that you want to be involved in. The returns can ultimately be very substantial over the years when you're using leverage and working with other people. So let's wrap this up with this. Remember, financial intelligence is really just a skill, and it can be learned. It's about making choices that align with your goals and letting your money do the heavy lifting, so to speak. And again, leveraging life is one of the easiest ways to do that. So one of the first things you can do is just get educated on how to store your capital in a safe, tax-free environment, and then how to leverage that capital into other cash flow investments. There are so many out there. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to find them in the traditional financial planning models. The reason being is because they're still stuck on getting you into retirement plans, buying mutual funds, and crossing your fingers. There's so many good alternative investments out there, and many of them give you so many tax advantages that can really build your wealth even that much faster.